head, I can only remember singles Inferno.
Okay, that's quite a popular one on Netflix.
It's basically like a typical dating show, but of course with restrictions because of their culture and all, but still very interesting. So yes.
So talking about Korean reality shows, there's one that I watch on YouTube. It's called Return of the Superman. Now, it's nothing to do with superheroes, but it's about super dads. So what I mean is all those great K-drama actors and pop stars who've now retired and now who are at, in their 30s and 40s and have decided to get married, settle down, have kids. It's a show about them and how they are rearing their kids. Now, it's very different from being on stage and being surrounded by fans and, having people signing for your autograph or, dancing on stage. Now they're in another phase of life and they are raising kids. Some have twins, some have triplets. And I don't have kids. I'm not really a fan of kids. But I've learned a lot about parenting, and it's just so interesting to see those cute little kids interact with their parents. It's very relatable how parents also sometimes are frustrated, sometimes they're angry, they just want to sleep, but of course they have to take care of their children.
And it's something universal, it's not something specific to the Korean culture. It's something that we can also relate to as Asians, as Pakistanis.
Exactly. So that's a really interesting show, and I've learned a lot from that. Then there's another show called 2 Days, 1 Night.
I think I've heard of it,
So it's again a bunch of actors, actresses, all their friends, they come together, they go on these missions, there are a lot of games. And so I've been introduced to a lot of silly, ridiculous, but funny games through that program. And it's just joy. It's pure joy.
Yeah, like I said, this brings so much happiness to you when, after coming back home from work, after a long, hectic day, you just want to relax and, sort of just watch something which uplifts your mood.
Exactly.
And I think this Korean content is just perfectly fits that description. It does exactly that for me, I think.
So we are trying to open a whole new world of Korean culture. And I hope that, you give us some positive feedback and let us know if you actually took our recommendations of dramas. So Hina talked about Crash Landing Into You, My Liberation Notes.
And Legend of the Blue Sea?
Legend of the Blue Sea. I really love it. So a bit of context about that. There's a mermaid. And she finds herself in the human world. She falls in love with a human who's also a bit of a con man. And so, of course, there is that great romance.
I think this fantasy element that K-dramas tend to bring in, I think initially I wasn't very fond of that. But once I started watching, I realized it's a lot of fun and it's not like cheap animation. They're really good and the shows, they've got a huge budget. So they look good. You wouldn't feel like you're watching something, cheap or tacky. They're really good. Great visuals. Everything's perfect. Production, quality. It's all good. And I think you should give it a try.
I would like to recommend Descendants of the Sun. Which
Cult.
Which is rather old, but it will check all the boxes. There is action, there's drama, there's romance. There is, war, espionage going on as well. So crime, thriller, you name it, and you will have it. And yes, those two actors were once upon, they had a great romance.
The song couple.
Yes, they used to be called the song couple. We can read about them on the net. And another great recommendation from my side is Glory, which is based on a true story about this young girl who was bullied in school. And then she grows up, and of course she has trauma. She also wants to take vengeance, and then she finds all those people who bullied her and takes revenge. But the way she does it, that is a master class. The way that script is written, the way it's acted, it's really beautiful.
And since we're talking about serious shows now, I would also like to recommend a show called D.P. D.P. I'm sure you've seen it.
Yes.
So basically, every male above the age of 18 has to serve in the Korean army for, I think, around 2 years. So in that part of their life, they're just cut off from the real world and they have to serve in the army. They're posted at the border and all that. But there's a lot of bullying which goes on. And I think that's very natural also, of course, because, there's authority, there's power. So obviously with that comes misuse of power and authority. So if that's a great show, you should watch. And they've taken real life incidents and, they sort of incorporated them into the storyline. I think it's a great show and a great learning experience for all of us.
Actually, that show generated a lot of debate because we are used to seeing the romantic, the comedy, the supernatural, the fantasy. A lot of Korean dramas, by the way, are all around ghosts, dead people being resurrected, dead people coming to life. And yes, we didn't also talk about the historical aspect. A lot of Korean dramas are based on history about their past kings and queens, and that is a whole interesting world.
The Joseon dynasty.
The Joseon dynasty.
So in the olden days, Korea or Seoul, I think, was also called Joseon. If I'm not wrong. Yes.
So you wear them. You see
the hanbok.
Them. Yes. Talk about the hanbok.
Yeah. So the traditional dress is called the hanbok, and it's a very beautiful garment. And of course, different for men and women, but it's very traditional, very ethnic, very beautiful. I think a little difficult to carry around because it's
it's flowy. It's
huge in size, yeah.
So Hina, where do we get latest information about Korean dramas, the updates, the celebrity gossip? Who was wearing what, who won an award, who didn't win an award? What is the latest film that's coming up? And again, Korean film, that's a whole genre of its own. And we haven't talked about the great Korean movies such as Parasite. Have you seen Parasite?
Of course I have. It was an amazing movie.
And sadly, one of the leading actors of that movie, he committed suicide and he lost his life. And because of the scandal, that's a whole other debate that leads you to media ethics and how Korean journalism is and how also difficult is the life of a celebrity because you've got so many eyes on you. But coming back to Korean movies, is there any particular, besides Parasite, what would you like to recommend? Is there anything that you've seen recently?
I think Train to Busan was a lot of fun. It's not a new movie, but I think it was very different. Yeah.
Do you want to also tell what was happening in that movie?
So I'm not going to give away too much, but it's about zombies. And once again, it's not a tacky movie at all. The production quality is amazing. So do watch that.
Train to Busan and Parasite.